welcome back to Thunder Rosa Talks. And today I have a very special guest. I've been spending some time for today, this Saturday. It's Saturday, but probably I don't know when I'm gonna put this, but it's Joe Galli. Joe Galli is not only our you call it host or commentator for NWA, but he's also, I wanted to show this when I saw it. I was like, this is a real Emmy. He's a winner of an Emmy. This is from California?
That's right.
He won it in California. So he's a legit reporter. He works for Crown News 4?
I work for News 4. So it's the NBC affiliate in San Antonio, Texas. I've been there for about 2 years. And as you can imagine, we're talking a lot about coronavirus right now.
For how long now?
I think probably one of the longest stretches for a domestic journalist.
Yes.
Just because in San Antonio, for your viewers who don't know, there was there's an Air Force base here called Lackland Air Force Base, and so the people who were Americans from Wuhan, China, and also from the Diamond Princess cruise ship, they were taken there. And so we've been talking about coronavirus here locally in San Antonio a lot longer than it has been in other places like Los Angeles and New York. So I think I've probably been like a solid 2 months of almost nothing but coronavirus. So it's why I'm so happy that you came over. So we talk about anything else.
So much fun. But before we start talking about you being a reporter, I want you to tell people, how did you get started with like just media and like just being in wrestling?
Well, they started at the same time, and I was going to school for screenwriting at the time, and then I realized I was also working full time, and so I knew that I always wanted to be in entertainment. I was in Los Angeles, and I quickly realized that the program at my college for screenwriting was too difficult to like work full time and do. So I was looking at the schedule of the other classes, and journalism was easier. Like just the timing of the classes was different. I was like, okay, I'll just switch to journalism so I can graduate. And so I was going to school for that, and then at the same time, my good friend Brandon Taylor, whose picture's over there, he found an ad in the paper for a wrestling school. We'd always been avid wrestling fans. We did the stupid backyard stuff that you're not supposed to do. You shouldn't do it. People got hurt. It's not good. But we did do it. And he's like, do you want to go and try this? And I was like, yeah. And I was the least athletic person.
I believe that.
I was, oh, thanks. But like, I'm probably in the best shape of my life, even when I was in ring and I was working. I was not a very good, you know. I was very, as my former colleague Jim Cornette, very outlaw mud show looking, no business to be in a wrestling ring sort of stuff. But I had a good character. And it was
so
really
what was your? He talks to me about his character. What was your character?
Let me go grab the gear while we're having it.
Well, in the meantime, while he gets his gear, don't forget to go to NWA.com and get this hat, the shirt that he's wearing.
NationalWrestlingAlliance.com/shop.
Yes. Get it there, and also go on YouTube, subscribe and like all our videos. More and stuff are gonna come out, and also don't forget to like, subscribe on this video. More interviews and more outrageous stuff, probably with Joe Galli, are gonna keep coming in the near future. So show us your gear.
Maybe I'll be wearing these. This is the first and really the only gear I really had made for myself.
You guys can't see it, but it's stained like hell.
Oh, I need to wash this. It's bad. It's been through a lot of battles. It's battle. It used to be really nice and white, but you know, so I had an underwear model gimmick. That was my thing. And so what I like to tell people is it was basically just a really, really bad version of what Joey Ryan does really well. So it was just that very kind of gross, over-the-top, hypersexualized thing.
It's not too far from reality.
Well, but now at least that's behind closed doors, you know, at least. So, so yeah, I did that. It was such an over-the-top character and such, and it was so much fun doing it. And then it really, my wrestling took a pause when I got my first gig as a television reporter. When I went to, you'll love the call letters. It was WNWO.
Wow.
So yeah, how perfect was that for a guy who's also in pro wrestling to go work at the NBC station in Toledo, Ohio, which was not a successful station. The pay was not good.
Yeah.
I was making more money as a loss prevention associate working at Rite Aid at a drugstore catching shoplifters.
So you're getting like what, $750?
It was $24,000 a year, so whatever that equates to.
Yeah,
it was
so
not
like
much.
7,
Yeah, so it's like that. But also a really good time in my life. I was a morning reporter. I was doing fun, goofy stuff. And
Nice.
so I was just doing fun stuff. I did a whole bunch of stuff I'll never get another chance to do. Like I did a huge Irish car bomb on live TV on St. Patrick's Day, which I probably should have got fired for. But I got a very stern warning. I did like pole dancing live shots. Remember when pole dancing was like
Hot.
Yeah, it was like the way to work out.
Well, you know, I kind of came back with Jennifer Lopez.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
the Hustlers.
Yeah. And I did the whole live. I had this blue shirt that I used to wear out to the ring that I wore for that live shot. And I had my boots on, all the way to my knees, and like it was fun. And yeah, so then I just basically transitioned more into journalism, and I did the wrestling less and less. I did like maybe a couple of shows in Ohio, and then I moved to Pennsylvania, and I did a couple of shows there, working there too.
So, with the wrestling, what was your well, you said your favorite moment when you were a wrestler?
My favorite moment working as a wrestler.
Yeah.
That's a great question. Getting powerbombed through a flaming table. Actually, it was a flaming cake on a table.
Who did it? Who did it?
Brawlin' Bo Cooper. It was a tag match. It was, I believe, me and Ramrod, and we were Ramming Hard was our tag team name. And
That's why we're friends.
And it was like students versus teachers sort of thing. And
yeah, they were going hard.
It was Ryan Katz and Bro Cooper, and Ryan Katz now works at NXT. And Bo, I think, is retired for the 14th time, as you see with a lot of wrestling.
Yeah.
One of those guys. But he, up until recently, I think, he's been very active in the Southern California scene. And that match got nasty because my partner, he got busted open real bad. He took a chair shot, and he just gushing blood everywhere. And then they set up a cake, and they lit the whole cake was on fire. And then I got power bombed into the cake, and it like burned the hair on the back of my neck.
Do you have any marks?
No. Thankfully, it wasn't that bad. But that was the end of the match. That was the finish.
Do we have footage of this? I would love to get this.
I have a still images, I believe, of me.
Well, hopefully
like
we can
in
get
process, but I don't know if the video is probably out there. So.
Jesus. So, when did you decided to retire as a wrestler?
I don't think I ever have, and I think that I could leave that opportunity open, and I feel like I could go back into the ring. I can do that.
Can the NWA make this happen in a storyline?
I feel very confident in myself physically, and there's definitely going to be a lot of ring rust there, as there would be with anybody. But if they wanted to have, some goofy tuxedo match or something like that, or something or build an angle, I've made a lot of enemies as the aggressive journalist Joe Galli with all of the members of Strictly Business.
Yes.
So it would not surprise me if at a moment, I'm doing commentary and all of a sudden here comes the wild card behind me and they just grab me by the collar and the belt and throw me into the ring. And
So before we jump into NWA,
Sure.
What is one of your most memorable, I think this is like one of the most memorable moments so far as a journalist, that you have experienced here in San Antonio, let's say in San Antonio?
There's a lot for big memorable moments here in San Antonio. There's a lot of just really big stories that I've covered. The Andreen McDonald case, which was a very high profile missing woman, and so I got really close with that family and covering that, and that was important. I think the biggest one that I did while working here in San Antonio was actually in El Paso, and that's when they had the mass shooting at the Walmart.
Yeah,
and so my parent company, they sent a reporter. I was sent there to do live reports for the group, meaning I'm doing live reports for all of the stations that want it. So I'd be live for Baltimore, Seattle, a whole bunch of other places here in San Antonio, Austin, all these different markets that wanted live reports from there. So it was just this mad dash of collecting stuff as quick as we can and putting reports together and just live report.
I've seen him in the other video that I told you guys gonna see him work. Like I saw him live working and like editing, and he's just like, he has an eye for all this stuff. I mean, he's been doing it for a while now, and yeah, I mean, there you go. And he edits it right there, and he sends it. It's amazing all the work that you guys do.
It is, and it's so fast paced now, and we have to deliver everything as quickly. Which that really hasn't changed in news, and it's just kind of the way that we've been able to do it, and the system that we have set up, and the particular shows that I'm responsible for reporting for. So I have an 11 a.m., I have a noon, and I have a 5, and sometimes a 6. And so there's a lot of turn and burn, and you never know what's going to be breaking, and you need to go somewhere, and the story changes. And like, there have been certain situations where I've gotten to a breaking news scene, and it's 10:50, and I'm getting as much facts as I can, and then the camera's on, and go. What do you know? And sometimes you don't know much. Like, hey, we just got here. We see the police off in the distance. This is what's happening. This is da 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 da. I'm gonna check in. I'm gonna check in with the sergeant here to see what we can figure out, and we'll be right back with the latest information. And then you just kind of keep it going.
Yeah, he's really good at what he does. I'll have to say, and that leads into being a commentator. And the NWA. How did this like jump from being a wrestler into being a commentator started?
Well, I think having the wrestling background helps so much, because you understand the industry, you know what moves are called, you understand the whole storytelling perspective of it, and then when you're also working as a journalist, it's the same basic process where you have to know the story and be able to tell the story and convey it in a way that's entertaining. And so when I moved from Pennsylvania back to Southern California when I was working in Palm Springs where I won this, my friend Brandon Taylor, who was at the time wrestling as the Hobo, and he was the champion over at Dave Marquez's show, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. He was their Hollywood Heritage Champion. And he said, why don't you come down and work the show, and we'll see how it is. And I was like, okay. And they were looking for a new commentator, because Todd Kennelly was going to move to Impact. And so we had only like one show left. And so there was a spot. And so I went down there, and it's like 99% of everything in life, especially in wrestling.
Yes.
The biggest thing is just show up.
Yes.
Show up. Be at the show and be humble and ready to work, and you can get work, and you can do it. And so I showed up, and Dave really liked me because he came from a broadcasting background, and he's such a broadcast guy.
Yes, he is.
He gets, like, that's his thing. And so he liked that, and then so the first show was the Red Carpet Rumble, which is their version of the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And I didn't do commentary for it. I did some backstage interviews, and I just kind of watched everything. And then Todd left to go to Impact, and they needed to have someone on the table, and it was just me. So I became the lead commentator, which I think Johnny LaCosta was a little upset about. Because Johnny LaCosta was there, but I think the thing is, Johnny LaCosta was a really good sort of a color guy.
Yes.
Like, he was better. That's where they kind of felt he was in that better position. They wanted someone else to steer the ship.
Yes.
But like have him interject in with more of the analysis of why things hurt the way they hurt, or why they're doing the things they're doing, and to have that comedy edge of him being a stand-up comedian, he had that in his arsenal. So let me be the straight man and let him do the jokes,
So that leads into you being, did you contact NWA or NWA contacted you?
Well, it just so happens, so Billy Corgan and Dave Lagana, Billy Corgan buys the brand, and he gets with Dave, and they decide to start the 10 Pounds of Gold series. And they need a place to start this thing off with Tim Storm. And so where they choose to start it is with the other big NWA guy, Dave Marquez. So they go to Championship Wrestling from Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
And I believe the first match, and I could be wrong, is Tim Storm fighting Zicky Dice for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. And that Zicky Dice looks way different than current.
Yeah.
Completely different guy.
He does.
He's put so much work in. I'm so proud of him. But so I called that match, and they pulled me into. I remember it very clearly. We were in the hallway that's between where the seats are and the production area, and the two of them are standing there, and they said, "We really like what you're doing. We want you to be a part of this product. We have some big plans in the future. Would you be interested in that?" And I'm looking at Billy Corgan, and it's like...
You're like, yes, sir.
trying not to be starstruck because, like, I love Billy Corgan. I love the Smashing Pumpkins. I lost my virginity and Smashing Pumpkins was playing on the radio.
Make sure you go to Endo Pro Show.
I've told that story a million times. Like, it's first girlfriend, radio was playing, tonight was on. It's a fact. This is what it is.
Full circle.
Exactly. So it's like, I don't think I've ever told Billy that story. But
I'm gonna send this clip to Billy.
And so, like, and I was just, let's do it, whatever. And I had no idea it was going to evolve into what it eventually evolved into. And then, like, I ended up having to leave Championship Wrestling from Hollywood because I got the job here in San Antonio, which just, the pay difference between working in Palm Springs and working here in San Antonio, Texas, I mean, it's more than double, like, the amount of money and all